Yes.
Okay, very good. Well, I was first introduced to this product that I'm going to be sharing with you tonight about 15 years ago. And let me just share a little bit about myself. I was 65 years old and I was severely crippled. I had so much arthritis in my body that I couldn't even hold a pen or pencil. I couldn't even pick up a pen or pencil. And so that's the condition that I was in. And I received an email inviting me to attend um, a web program about this amazing product. And so I decided to go ahead and do that because I own a 28-acre estate here in Michigan, and I have a river that runs through my property, and I wanted to know how to purify the water in that river. And so that's the invite that I was given. And can you still hear me okay? It sounds like it's really echoing.
There is a little bit of echo. Maybe if you could increase your volume a little bit. But we don't hear the echo. It's only from your part.
Oh, okay. Very good. If you can't hear it, then I won't let it bother me. All right. Anyway, the invite I had was to learn how to purify the most polluted water in the world. And so that's what I wanted to do, was to learn how to purify that water in my river. And so I attended the water webinar, but on that water webinar, I saw this man pouring this liquid into a pond that was filthy, filthy polluted. It was so polluted you couldn't even see 2 inches below the surface. And so as the program went on, you could see the pond starting to clear, and you could now see it starting to get crystal clear all the way to the bottom, 15 feet below. And then what this man did that poured this liquid into that pond, he took a clear glass mug and he dipped it in that pond water, held it in front of the camera, and it was crystal clear. You could see right through it, just no contaminants at all. And then he proceeded to drink it. And I thought, oh my land, does he know what he's doing? Because back in 1976, my wife and I took our 3 sons out camping out in Colorado. And it was on July 4th, the 200th birthday of our nation. And here we were camping up there above the tree line, and the snow was still snowing on July 4th. And my sons got really thirsty, and they saw this snow melting, and they said, Daddy, can we have a drink from that? It looks really crystal clear. And I looked around, I didn't see any problems. So I said, well, it probably wouldn't hurt. Well, that was a bad mistake, because after they drank that, they got Montezuma's revenge really, really bad. For 3 days, it kind of ruined our vacation. So it was that in mind that I decided to attend this water webinar where I could learn how to purify my water. And when I saw that gentleman drinking from that clear glass mug from that pond that was just filthy, filthy polluted, I thought, does he know what he's doing? Well, what happened was during that webinar, I heard people say that people with arthritis were reporting tremendous benefits from drinking this water that had these minerals added to them. Well, come to find out that that man that added the liquid to that pond water was an atomic scientist. And he was hired by the Japanese government to find a way to remove the radioactive isotopes from the waters around Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And so it was while he was on that quest that he discovered these minerals. And these minerals did indeed, when added to water that had the atomic isotopes in them, it did purify that water. And And so these people were saying people that drank some of this water that had the minerals added to it got tremendous benefit from their arthritis. Well, I was severely crippled with arthritis at that time. I was 65 years old 15 years ago. And so uh, it kind of changed my attitude about why I was watching that video. And so at the end, they gave us an opportunity. If anyone would like to try these minerals, you can try them and order them. So I did. I ordered them. And when they came, I actually hid them in the back of my desk drawer. And the reason I did that was because my wife is an RN. She works with the allopathic surgeons at the hospital. And I didn't want her making fun of me for falling for some scam on the internet. So I actually hid them and I started adding them to my drinking water in secret. I became a closet drinker of these minerals. Well, on my third day, my hands, which, I couldn't even make a fist. That's as tight of a fist as I could make with them. On my third day, I was able to completely move my hands with no pain whatsoever. On my fourth day, I could raise my arms even above my shoulders, above my head. Prior to that, I couldn't even raise them shoulder high without being in terrific pain. So on my fourth day of drinking these minerals, I was able to do that. Now, when I got out of bed, it used to be I'd have to push myself over onto my side and then push myself to a sitting position on the edge of the bed, and then I could push myself to a standing position and get my balance. And I was bent over somewhat, and when I took my first step, I looked like a crippled old man because I was severely crippled at the age of 65. My body was in very bad shape. I was on all kinds of medication. I had high blood pressure. I had sugar diabetes. My cholesterol was out of the limits. I was on a bunch of different medications. But after that fifth day, instead of doing the 3 pushes to get out of bed, I actually just leaped out of bed. I started jumping up and down, hopping all over my bedroom, and twisting my body every which way to see if there was any pain, and it was gone. On my fifth day of drinking these minerals, it was gone. And that's when I thought, wow, this is really quite amazing. And so I took them out and I started, drinking the water that added the minerals to them in front of my wife, and she wanted to know what is that, and where'd you get that? What are you doing? And well, I finally told her, well, look what it's done for me. I no longer have any pain whatsoever. My pain was completely gone. I had complete flexibility with my hands and my shoulders and jumping out of bed and so on with no hesitation whatsoever. And so I had to go back to my doctor. I had to go back every 3 months because of all the prescriptions that I was on. And when my doctor took my blood and sent to the lab and everything, got the results back, my doctor was totally amazed, and my doctor took me off all my meds. She said, Fred, you don't need them anymore. These meds have harmful side effects, and you really don't need them. So she actually took me off my meds. Now, I'm 80 years old now. It's been 15 years later. I'm not on any meds whatsoever. I'm not in any pain. So that was all. So what I started doing is I called the company and I said, hey, these are really amazing. I would like to be able to distribute these to my friends. And so I sent an email requesting that, and the next morning my phone rang, and I could see from caller ID that it was the company that I had contacted. And I thought, oh, good, customer service. They're getting back with me about that. Well, no, it wasn't the customer service. It was the president of the company. And we talked and we shared experiences, for over 5 hours. And he said, yes, you could become a distributor. And so that's how I became a distributor of these minerals. Now, I'm going to share some coincidences. That's what I'm going to call them, is just coincidences, because I am not allowed to tell you that these minerals will heal, cure, treat, prevent any disease. I can't say anything like that at all. We're prevented from saying any of that. But let me just start sharing some of the things that happen. When I received these minerals, I started noticing at church people that had a lot of health issues. And so one day on a Wednesday night, I was the financial manager of our church, and we had a financial meeting for the children's group. And so I had just gotten my changes, the coincidences of all my illnesses were apparently gone. And so anyway, I went to that meeting and I had to give a financial report. And a lady across the room called over to me and said, hey, Fred, how you doing? I said, oh, man, I'm doing super great. I'm doing fantastic. I've never been better. And then the lady that was in charge of the meeting called the meeting to order, so we couldn't talk anymore. And so I gave my report. And then after the report, that lady that called over to me came running over and said, Fred, I've been dying all evening. What in the world happened to you? Why are you so excited? And then I told her about my arthritis and about, you know, the doctor taking me off all these meds and everything. And she said, what do you think they could help me? And I said, well, I don't know. I'm just brand new at this. I just got them. And she said, well, let me tell you what's going on with me. She said, I have a bone spur on the bottom of my right heel. And if you notice how I walk, I have to walk on my tiptoes on my right foot, because if I touch my heel to the ground, I'm in terrific pain. And I said, oh my, I don't know if it will help you or not, but tell you what, here's a bottle. Take it like I did. And I told her the 3-part protocol, and I'll go into that in a minute, what the 3-part protocol is. So she did. The second lady, she spoke up. She said, well, Fred, you know, I've got a problem too. I don't know. Do you think it would help me? I said, I don't know. What's your problem? She said, well, if you notice, I can't bend my neck. If you notice my neck, I have a crick in my neck that I have to go to the chiropractor every 6 weeks. I'd go every week if I could. But anyway, they give me a treatment and it helps me for about 1 week, and that's it. And I said, well, I don't know, but, you know, here's a bottle for you too. Take it home and try it the same way. And the third lady spoke up. She said, well, Fred, I don't have a problem like these other 2 ladies. Would it hurt me to take these minerals and drink it in my water like what you're suggesting? I said, no, I don't think so. It might prevent you from getting some of these other things. So anyway, so she took it. The following Sunday, these 3 ladies after church came running over to me, and they said, Fred, oh my, you got to hear what happened to me. And this may be just a coincidence. I don't know. That's all I can say. Well, it's a coincidence. But you have to be the decision maker. You can decide if it was a coincidence or not, but that's all I can say it was a coincidence. The first lady, she took her right leg, put her heel to the floor, picked up her left leg, and started hopping up and down on her heel of her right leg. She said, on my 3rd day, it completely went away. That pain, that bone spur completely went away. And now I don't have any problem. I can walk and so on naturally. And the second lady spoke up and said, well, Fred, it was on my 3rd day as well. You know, I heard this crack in my neck, and all of a sudden I could start turning my head to the right, to the left, up and down with no pain. I said, wow, that's amazing. She said, yeah, it was. And then the third lady spoke up and said, but remember I said I didn't have any problems? And I said, yeah. She said, well, let me tell you what happened with me. I have not been able to sleep through the night in many years. I wake up all the time in pain, and I just have not been able to sleep. After I started drinking the mineral water, I am now able to sleep through the night with no problem whatsoever. And I said, well, that's something then, isn't it? I said, yeah. She said it was great. That's just the first 3 people that I gave the minerals to. Just the first 3 at church. Well, there's many, many, many others since then. For example, my assistant treasurer at church, I had to go over to his house the following Monday after that Wednesday night, and I took some of the minerals over with him. And he had sugar diabetes really bad. And when he pricked his finger, he was in the 600 range. 600. And he was on 3 diabetes prescription meds. And I said, his name was Harry. I said, Harry, I don't know if this could help you at all. I have no idea. I'm brand new to this, but I brought some minerals over, and there's a 3-part protocol that you can try them and just see if it can help you. He said, okay, I'll try it. So he did. The very next day, the 600 reading went down to the 190s. And the day after that, it went down to the 170s. And the third day, it went down to the 150s. The fourth day, it went down to 130s. The fifth day, it went down to 115. The 6th day, it went down to 98. And the 7th day, 1 week later, he was at 87. He's been at 87 every day since. So, I mean, okay, so now that was the 4th person that I gave the minerals to. Right? Then there was this lady in our church that was wearing this plastic boot and a crutch, came to church that way. And finally, I talked with her and found out that she had severe MRSA in her foot, and that they were going to amputate her foot. And I said, oh my, that's terrible. But tell you what I'd like you to do, I would like you to take some of these minerals home. I want you to drink them with a 3-part protocol that I'm going to tell you about. And what I want you to do, I want you to take a little tub of water, put a tablespoon of these minerals in that, and I want you to take all the bandages off your foot, and I want you to soak your foot in that tub of water. So she said, are there any drugs or anything in this? And I said, no, it's all natural. It's just minerals from the earth. And so finally she agreed to try it. So she took it home, and the next morning she looked at her foot, and she at this point in time, she had to go to the hospital 7 days a week, and she had to go sit for 2 hours, and they had a IV dripping into her PICC line in her chest. They had to install a PICC line, and they had this powerful IV dripping into her PICC line, and she had to sit for 2 hours to get that done. And anyway, when she got ready to go to the hospital to sit for the 2 hours, and she unbandaged her foot. She was also a nurse. She was an RN, worked same hospital as my wife did. And so she unbandaged her foot, and when she looked at it, she screamed. And her husband came running and said, what in the world happened to you? What's wrong? She said, look, my foot has healed 40% overnight. Now, what happened to her, she went and had a pedicure done at one of these places where, you get your toes done, you get a pedicure, and they had nicked her heel, and she didn't see it, they didn't see it, and when she went home, she saw, the next morning, she saw some blood spots on her sheets, and so she examined her foot, and she saw that it had been cut somewhat with that pedicure. And so she bandaged it and everything, and then she went because in less than a week she was in terrific pain. She went back to her doctor, and they said, I wish you would have come to me earlier because you have staph infection in your foot. And so he put her on a 10-day oral antibiotic, and so she took it for 10 days, and it got worse. And then he put her on a second one for another 10 days, got worse still. And then on the third 10 days, a third antibiotic. And it was really, and by this time, now that cut in her heel had now gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And so all of that, she got the pedicure in March. So all of April, she spent with the 3 different 10-day oral antibiotics. And so in May, she had to go to the doctor, and he said, "Oh, you now have MRSA in your foot, and it's serious. It could really kill you. So you need to come to the hospital." So that's when she started. So all of May, all of June, all of July, all of August, she went. And now that cut was over 7 inches long, all the way to her bone. And now it was moving off her leg, the MRSA was. And so the doctor said, all we can do is amputate your foot. We have to do that to save your leg. So they were getting ready to do that, and that's what she told me when I told her to do what I told her to do. Well, she did what I told her to do, and that next morning when she screamed and her husband came running, her foot had healed 40% when she went back to the hospital that morning, because the nurses, they have to unbandage your foot and they clean it all out and so on. They were totally amazed, got the doctors to look, and they couldn't believe it. Would you believe 1 week from the day I gave them to her after church on Sunday, she came back to church wearing her normal shoes and socks. She was completely, her foot completely healed up. She no longer needed that boot. She no longer needed that crutch. And she no longer needed to have her foot amputated. Okay, so that was like the 4th person in church I gave it to. Now there's been many other ones there that I gave them to, and it was just a coincidence. That's all I can say, just a coincidence that everybody that I gave them to had these tremendous reports to give to me. And so one day, this guy from church came to me and said, "Fred, I keep hearing all these stories about these people at church. You think you could help me?" And I said, "Well, I didn't know you had a problem. I didn't. What's your problem?" He said, "Well, Fred, for the last 15 years, I have had no feeling at all from my elbows all the way down to my fingertips in both arms. I have no feeling. If I were to burn myself, I wouldn't know it unless I smelled the hairs on my arms burning. But I have had no feeling for 15 years. I said, "Man, I've never heard of anything like that. I have no idea. I don't know. Tell you what, here's a bottle. You start drinking it like all these other people at church have done." And so he said, "Okay, I'm going to try it." So we took him home. On his 4th day, his was his 4th day, all of a sudden, his arms and hands, fingers, they started this burning feeling. Like when you sit on your foot or something and it goes to sleep and now it starts to wake up, or your hand starts to wake up after it's gone to sleep, all that burning feeling. He says, "Oh my land, what in the world did that Fred do to me? I'm in pain. My arms, my hands, my fingers are burning." Well, that lasted for a little while, and then that went away. But when it went away, all of this feeling came back in his arms and hands and fingers. 100% came back. The next Sunday, remember, 1 week after I gave him the minerals at the beginning, 1 week later, he came running to me after church and said, "Fred, I played the best guitar." He was a professional guitar player, all right? He used to play in the pubs and bars and so on. Then he got his life turned around and he stopped doing that, and now only played in the worship band at church. He came running to me and said, "Fred, I played the best guitar I've ever played in my life. I can now feel the strings. I can feel the frets. I hadn't been able to do that for 15 years. I had to play by ear." And so anyway, that's what he told me. He said, all of a sudden the feeling came back and I played the best guitar ever. So anyway, and then a little bit after that, well, there were many other people as well. Then, I started telling other people about them. People would call me and they would share and so on. But, I have to tell everybody, what, this is just a coincidence. This has happened. because I'm not allowed to say that these minerals cured anybody or healed or prevented any disease. I'm not allowed to do that. I'd be shut down in an instant. But what a coincidence it is that almost everybody that I gave these minerals to experienced some kind of benefit. Now, for 15 years, I have many hundreds, thousands of stories of people who's taken these minerals and received quite a coincidence. That's all I can say. I had one lady call me, she said, Fred, I'm really scared. She lived in California. She said, Fred, I've got this lump in my breast that they say is cancer, and they're saying that I have to have it surgically removed. And she said, but I don't want a mastectomy. I don't want chemo. I don't want, any of the drugs and so on. Is there anything you would suggest I do? And I said, well, if you were my sister, I would recommend that you go on the 3-part protocol with these minerals. I don't know if it'll help you or not, but you could try it. So she said, okay, I'm going to try it. So I sent him the minerals. She got them there in California. I'm in Michigan. Got them there 3 days later in California. And so she started on it. Well, she called me back 2 weeks later to the day, 14 days after she talked to me the first time. And she said, Fred, I got to tell you what happened. I went to my doctor yesterday and he examined me and he couldn't believe it. He said, that lump in your breast is completely gone. She said, Fred, that lump was already 2/3 the size of my entire breast. They were going to have to do a mastectomy and they were planning on doing a double. But anyway, I didn't have to have it. It was completely gone in less than 2 weeks. That's just it. I had another lady that I'd been working with a doctor in Flint, Michigan, and there was that water crisis in Flint, and so she heard about this doctor that was working with me in the minerals, and so she called him and said, I've been diagnosed with 3 locations of cancer in my body. I have stage 4 cancer in 3 different parts: in my liver, in my bones, and on my abdomen. And she asked him, do you think there's anything that you could do for me? And he said, well, there might be. Why don't you fly up here to Detroit? I'll get my friend Fred to meet with us. And so I met with her and with the doctor in Detroit, took the minerals, and I had a printed out protocol for the 3-part protocol with these minerals. And she said, okay, I'm going to try it. So she did. And lo and behold, it completely cleared up her. Okay, all I could see was that big growth on her abdomen. That's all I could see. I couldn't see her bones, or I couldn't see her liver, of course. But the doctor examined her and everything, and so she decided to stay with friends there in Detroit area, and so he saw her again on Monday, because I met with her on Friday. So on Monday, the doctor met with her again and said that it had really cleared up a lot, and it shrunk down so he couldn't even see that on her abdomen anymore. But when he pressed on her stomach, it had shrunk down to the size of a walnut under her skin. And then he saw her again 3 days later, so a total of 6 days on the minerals. When she went to the doctor again and he pressed on her stomach, it was gone. It was gone. He said, okay, it's time for you to fly back to Mexico. Go back to those 2 oncologists that declared you, they sent you home and said, there's no hope. You're too far gone. We can't do anything. No one can do anything for you. Go back to those 2 oncologists. So she did, and they did the scans again, and they were totally amazed, because in all 3 areas, her cancer was completely, just a coincidence, was gone. Okay, I can't say the minerals did it. I can't say, but there's been lots of coincidences like that. So I don't know what our time is. We're probably about up with our time. So This is a product that what I did is, I was talking to Donnie about these products, and so he wanted to try them. So I sent some to Donnie, and he tried them, and he thought, wow, these are pretty good. And so he was telling the other administrators of Des Alpes about them, and so I sent them some bottles as well, and they all tried them. Everybody on the executive team just fell in love with these minerals, and they said, we got to have these as part of our promotion when we open up Des Alpes and have these products. And so that's kind of how it all got started. But so I know that it's going to come out later. It's going to be offered, and I've made special arrangements with the company that I'm going to supply them to the company so that they can supply them to anybody that wants to try them, And I'll just mention I have 3 different sizes. I have an 8-ounce bottle, a 16-ounce bottle, and a 32-ounce bottle. And, they last quite a while, So anyway, that information is going to come out later on. Donnie's going to tell you about it, or Danielle, or some of the people. It's going to be announced. But they asked me just to come on and share a little bit about these minerals. And how I got involved with it. I'm now 80 years old. I'm not on any meds, none whatsoever. I'm not in any pain anymore. That pain went away 15 years ago. My life was completely changed. Now, it's just a coincidence that my life was changed when I started drinking these minerals. There's one other thing that I'm going to tell you that I did. Prior to that, I hated drinking water. I confess, I hated water. I'd rather go pop open a can of Diet Coke or go get a glass of orange juice or anything. I didn't want to drink water. I hated it. Well, after I got these minerals and I decided to go on the protocol that the doctor developed, I haven't had a Diet Coke in over 15 years. I haven't had that. But anyway, so it's really quite amazing what has gone on. And I know our time is about up, and I could talk for several hours because I have hundreds of thousands of stories that I could share with you. But anyway, maybe we can another time. Right, Donnie?
Right on. Thanks a lot. Oh, my God. Every time I listen to you, I learn something. And I hope people up there tonight appreciate your coming over. First of all, thank you very much. And I'll be in touch with you. I'm having lunch with Danielle tomorrow, and what we talked about earlier, I'll be back to you either tomorrow afternoon or before the weekend is over. Okay? And I'm sure that Danielle will be in touch to arrange some kind of logistical part for the pricing. Everything is going to be done. Please, ladies and gentlemen, wait a week or so, because the launch is set up for still the 24th or around the 24th of this month. So, and this product will be available very shortly after that. So this is going to be our number one star product. So we want to make sure it's on there. So thank you again, Fred, for your time, and I really appreciate it. Yolande, back to you. I think we have an update or something.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Fred Foster. Thank you, Donald. Thanks for all those great testimonies, and we can't wait to get those minerals. A few updates that we gave at the French Zoom. I think that some of them, you heard them already. We're going to have a new website. The genealogy tree is getting cleaned up. It's almost completely done. Just a few corrections from certain leaders, misplacing correction because some people were not placed at the right position. And what else? Whenever someone reach a level like your Ambassador 5 and you are not able to renew, don't worry, you're going to keep your level. You're going to be paid residual value at the highest level you get. Let's say that you reach level 5, So you're going to be paid for 20 levels deep for your life on residual volume. Even though, for example, you didn't renew your level 3 or level 4, so you will be paid at level 2, but your highest level is level 5, so you're going to be paid as level 5 for residual value, residual volume in the marketplace. What else? You know that once we open, you'll be able, of course, the correction will be made in the genealogy tree. The correction will be made in your commissions. You'll be able to withdraw your commissions to a crypto virtual card, and the physical card will be available for you to order. Let's say it take 2 weeks, then you have your physical cards to withdraw money as well. And then when we open the big opening, the marketplace will be in place with that fabulous minerals for water, and also some tea. We might have some tea, and then some health products that we have been trying. They are very tasty, proteins, vitamins, all in one, and everything. What else? I think that that's about it. We have 7 minutes to take a few questions, like if you want to clear something, not necessarily for our presenter, Mr. Foster, because your questions will be answered after, but a few questions about the update. You can write your question in the chat, and I don't know if I have a co-host that will be able to read them for me. So only 5 specific questions. We're not going to be too long. We already take 40 minutes, for 45 almost. So what we have in the chat is can someone okay, Emmanuel, you want to read for me? Thank you. Are you already? I have to make you co-host, I guess. I don't know how many co-hosts I can have. The chat. What? So you still have that people that haven't been asked to pay yet. Is that correct? So you still have people that hasn't been paid yet. Most of the people has been paid, and then when we open, people will be able to get paid again. So this is what I have to say. Some new people maybe didn't have their first pay because we have some miscalculations on December 25th, and then we'll be correcting that, and then people will be able to withdraw their commissions. Emmanuel, let me see. We're not gonna give questions, like that. You speak, you have to write it. If you want to be co-host, Emmanuel, I'm trying to find your name because we have like 356 people left. So I mean that are still here. Emmanuel, okay, yeah, you raised your hand. You can unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Yeah, Yolanda, I'm unmuted now.
Okay. You want to read the questions for me in the chat?
Okay, I have to go through and then until we meet with any potential questions, okay?
Yeah, there are more comments than questions. Okay.
Yeah.
So answer one question that I saw come up. They asked if children could take these minerals, and the answer is absolutely. Even babies are less than a year old. I have many stories of babies too. I have hundreds of stories. Not only people, children, babies, animals, plants. All living things need these minerals. All living things. So yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. Well, it's 9:47. I think that we will be able to close our Zoom. Thanks a lot. Thanks for taking your time to come and share. Thanks to Mr. Foster for taking his time to come and share. And then we can't wait to have it available. As you heard, Mr. Donald Basque, they're gonna get things ready. When we're gonna open, maybe within 2 weeks, we're gonna have that products as a special wealth product for our community, and then it will be available to every country where you can deliver, right? Through FedEx, yeah.
Wherever FedEx goes, Mr. Foster company will deliver there. If it's in Timbuktu or Tracadie, New Brunswick, FedEx goes there, it'll go there. Is that correct, Mr. Foster?
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
And then prices and everything will come later. And thanks again. We'll try to get the registration for those who couldn't be here because it's very late. Some people are sleeping already. It's in the middle of the night. And then thanks again for taking the time. So good night, everybody. And we appreciate you. We appreciate you, Mr. Foster and Mr. Basque, for taking the time to come. Take care.
Thank you very much, Yolanda.